Welcome to the Mark Travis and Derek Christopher podcast. I am, of course, Derek Christopher. I'm here with Mark Travis. Mark, good to see you.
Good to see you, Derek.
Mark, I have a question for you.
Yes,
You
sir.
ready?
I hope so.
How many people do you know are on CAA's Blacklist? Creative Artist Agency, one of the biggest talent agencies in the world, has a blacklist.
Is this
Yeah,
a blacklist the CAA has that they have blacklisted these people, they don't want to deal with them, or these
they
clients of theirs that have been blacklisted?
these are clients of theirs that they have created a blacklist because they were, quote, underperforming writers.
Oh, they're
And they weren't making
underperforming.
any money of them.
So they so
So
they so
here's what
they
happened.
put they
There
put
was,
them in, they moved them out to the tool shed in the backyard.
but they didn't want to tell anybody. So there's a guy named John Musero, and he was originally a writer on NBC's or HBO's The Newsroom. And he
Hmm.
wrote on that for a couple of years, sort of got to be known as a writer. And so CAA picked him up as a writer.
Hmm.
And so John had this script that he was working on. I'm just going to pull up the notes here. He had written a pilot called Main Justice, which was a legal drama, sort of in the style of The West Wing,
Hmm.
about a new attorney general that comes into office and everything that happens with it. And so he submits it to CAA. It gets shopped around a bit. It goes to Mark Gordon's company and a couple things. Eventually, the script loses steam and nothing happens with it. But then all of a sudden, another writer, a much better known writer, comes out with something very similar.
Hmm.
And he goes, well, wait a minute. I submitted it through CAA to the same companies, and these guys basically stole my idea, that they allowed this bigger writer to steal my idea. So he sues. This is in
No,
2019.
no. And who is
Yeah,
he? Who is he suing?
he's suing CAA and his agent.
His agent. Okay.
Yes. So in discovery, while he's trying to prove that they stole his idea, he comes across two lists that CAA had internally written up of writers that they were basically blacklisting. And it said that these are underperforming writers, and his name was on the list, and it said, we need to get rid of this guy.
How,
And
first,
now
I'm curious how he even got to that list.
it somehow it ended up in discovery. I guess when they were doing
Okay.
discovery for all the paperwork and
Yeah.
the contracts and everything involved,
Yep. Yep.
these lists just happened to show up in the paperwork. And now it's turning out to potentially be a huge problem for CAA because it's going to go to court in October. And it's one thing. Here's the irony: is that the court actually threw out his claim that his idea was ripped off because they said it was too generic, and a lot of people have something like that in development. But what they allowed to go through was the fact that he was on this list and he felt that he was blacklisted.
Yeah. And everybody else who's on that list has now we have a class action suit against CAA by could be.
So I'm just reading that he was after that they sidelined him. And even though they dismissed the claim of theft on his idea, what they allowed to go through was to proceed on breach of duty and loyalty regarding the internal lists. Now,
Mm.
CAA's argument is that the lists were isolated and not agency policy. In fact, CAA said, well, only two agents had actually seen this list, which is complete bullshit.
Hmm.
Every agency, every management company has a blacklist of people they don't want to work with for whatever reason.
Hmm.
And this goes back to something that we've talked about so many times. If you can make money, they love you. If you can't make money, they don't give a shit about you. And so now, where do you think this is going to go? I mean, first of all, what's the idea that they're a blacklist have always sort of been a rumor. It's sort of in the shadows, but now it's coming out that these lists do exist. And how do you think that impacts writers? I mean, what I found interesting was it wasn't because they didn't like him or they thought he was this. They were, quote, underperforming writers,
Yeah, it's underperforming. And it's not political like the
right?
McCarthy blacklists and things like that. It's not a political, it's just underperforming.
Yeah.
And I tell you, in the arts, especially writing, how do you measure underperformance? Because he's writing things that haven't sold. And is that his fault or is that your fault as the agency that you didn't? Um, and it's like, I remember back when I was suing, actually, I was suing William Morris, and this is the Bronx Tale suit,
Yeah,
suing William Morris, Tribeca, which was De Niro's company, and
yeah,
Universal all at the same time on one thing. They were all included. I said, well,
yeah,
this will bury my career, maybe.
yeah.
But the thing is, my part of my suit against William Morris was because Chazz was with William Morris too. They pushed me aside and focused on him, and and they and I. It's a much longer story. We had a
I was just going to
deal.
say, you want to give just a brief description that Chazz Palminteri was working on a one-man show in LA back in the
Yep.
day, and you were directing it and you were helping him write it. And
Yeah,
then
well,
it got a lot
to
of
go
traction.
to go back further, I came up with the
Yeah,
idea. I came up with the idea of the show.
yeah.
So
And so
it
you,
wasn't that he was working on it. He, the truth is, he needed a monologue so he could audition for theater
yeah.
productions, and that monologue eventually turned into A Bronx Tale,
And
and
it
and
became a
and
big
so
success in LA.
huge success in LA, huge
Then you
success
took
in
it to
New
New York.
York, and a hot item in LA amongst all the production, all the because people would see the play and they
Yeah,
could immediately see the movie. So this is a
yeah.
movie, and people would want to buy it. People made offers right there in the lobby. I'll give you this much money. And we kept turning them down.
Now,
And
now, hold on. When you say we kept turning him down, so you and Chazz at that point, Chazz really felt that it was a partnership.
I'll put it differently. He was acting
Okay,
like it was a partnership.
okay,
You have to remember, Bronx Tale is about the mafia,
yeah,
and it's about being raised in that world.
yeah,
And I learned a lot about the mafia from Chazz and that world and all those characters who eventually some of them I met. But that way of negotiating legal or illegal things or loyalty and betrayal, it's a whole different
right.
system. So that's why I says partnership, yeah, acting that way. Yeah, yeah, this is my director. Yeah, we did this together, and things that he
So
would
that,
say to somebody that he would never say publicly.
but you helped him write it, you helped him structure it, you directed
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and then one night Robert De Niro shows up, and this is one of my favorite parts of the story that you tell, is that I think you were both in the lobby. De Niro walks in. De Niro doesn't even acknowledge you, takes Chazz into the ticket booth.
Very much like that. Here's
Yeah,
what after the show, I saw De Niro go in at the beginning,
yeah,
and I watched him during the show to see how he was reacting. And now I'm in the lobby waiting for De Niro to come out. Chazz comes out. Chazz is meeting a lot of people, and then somebody whispers something into Chazz's ear, and or something like that, and I'm watching, waiting for De Niro, and no De Niro.
yeah,
Chazz says, "Excuse me," and Chazz goes to the box office, which is basically closed at that time, and there's not the
yeah.
windows on. And he opens the door, and I can see through the door. De Niro is inside the box office.
And no,
So the
what
men,
was your
so the
emotion at that time?
excitement and rage.
Oh, okay, wow,
It's like and fear too, fear too.
yeah,
It's just like you're getting. It's when you see something that is rattles you so deeply and in
right,
different directions. So then Chazz goes in there and closes the door.
yeah,
And obviously, De Niro didn't want to meet Chazz out in the lobby because then there'd be all those people. He wanted to be isolated. And I can
sure,
understand that.
yeah.
And then when I went and knocked on the door later, as the lobbyist thinning out and knocked on the door, I could hear the door lock. Click.
Well, that's a great movie moment.
It's a great, yeah, it's like, ah. So I
Yeah,
wait. I just say, okay, well, they're in there. They have to come out sometime.
yeah,
Um, and some of De Niro's entourage are waiting around for him, which is fine. And then when finally the door opens, Chazz looks out, looks around, and says to Bobby, he calls him Bobby. Okay, Bobby, let's
Yeah.
go. Oh, Bobby, let's go. And Chazz comes out, and De Niro is right behind him, right behind him.
Now, did they
Stay,
acknowledge
stay.
you?
No, stay right behind him. And Chazz makes a beeline for the door that goes outside.
Yeah.
De Niro's right behind him, and whoosh, they're gone. And the
Wow.
entourage is gone. And I'm standing there alone in the lobby.
Yeah.
So who are they avoiding? Me.
Yeah.
They're avoiding, there's nobody else in the lobby that's going to make a problem. They could just sort of walk out or, hello, Mr. De
So
Niro,
what
hello, But
what did you do? Did you ever think about going, hey, wait a minute, what about me? I'm half of this equation.
well, yeah, later I did.
Yeah.
Mark, I can't, no, but you have to, that was, see, there was always, yeah, let me talk to him. I'm sure he'd love to meet you.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
but that's, the play A Bronx Tale was good, interesting, fun.
Yeah.
The movie, if we ever do it, of that whole creative process is frightening because it is the mafia mentality
Yeah.
within the film business. And the one other thing that meanwhile, Chazz and I are
Right.
writing the screenplay because we decided, and now we have our agents, William Morris. We decided that finish the screenplay without even letting people know that it existed, and so that it becomes more valuable if you've already written it rather than being
Right.
asked to write it. In fact, if someone said screenplay and we said, well, we want to write it, and they go, no, 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 we'll get somebody else.
Yeah.
So we decided to write it, and it was actually completed while we were in New York, while the play was running in New York.
Now,
But
now this is a silly question, maybe that back at this was what, the late 80s, maybe
mm, yeah, early 90s, yeah.
early 90s. So I take it that you didn't have any sort of agreement or contract with Chaz at the time that you guys were working,
I had an agreement which had
right?
to do with my participation, which had to do with the development. Now, this is a really tough one, which you
Yeah.
can understand. Um, Anybody else who does what I do which is help somebody else develop something.
Right.
How do you put a value on that?
Yeah.
That's really tough. So, but
Yeah.
that's in there, acknowledgement of that. Then there's the acknowledgement of the directing of the play. That I can put a value on. That's much easier. And
Right.
then there's the third part, which is the collaboration and writing the screenplay. And that's an easier one too. But there were the three parts. So there was an agreement that we had um, on those three. It was like 1 or 2 pages. It was small. And um, the interesting thing is, even when I would mention that agreement to our agent, they say, yeah, don't worry. No, that's fine. They didn't seem interested in that we had an agreement.
So now so you ended up suing who? Your agent?
Hmm.
Who else? At William Morris.
Yep.
Who else did you sue?
It was mainly Chaz.
Okay, Chaz
And it
directly.
had it had to be because that's who the agreement was with. I didn't,
Right.
the agent, you can't sue them for not protecting you. Now we're back into the blacklist a little bit.
Yeah,
The
that's what I want to go back to. Yeah. So
yeah,
do you,
and I'm going to link this to the blacklist, and I think it was Chaz who said this to me, or somebody said, Mark, you got to understand how Hollywood works. It's like the racetrack. You put the money on the lead horse, the one that's always winning. Now that's what
wow.
the blacklist is. Oh, this person just sold a screenplay. It's a terrible
Absolutely.
script. Here, okay, we're putting more energy into this is where our energy is going to go. It had nothing to do with quality, nothing to do with anything else.
But this goes back to what we talked about in another episode, which is that they're paying well-known, bigger writers to develop and pitch shows. And the newer writers who may be better writers, they may write better pitches, they may be better in a room, aren't getting the same opportunity because they're not the leaders in the horse race.
Right. Right.
which is kind of scary. So, what do you think is going to be the outcome of this CAA lawsuit in October?
Oh, wow. Well, since I'm just learning about this from you today,
Yeah,
um,
that's what I love. Just
I'm I,
that's why I
I'm
want your gut
I'm
reaction.
I'm anticipating, I guess, and then maybe hoping that there's going to be. I just had another thought. Um,
Yeah,
going to be an uprising within the writers, mostly within CAA.
but will they? Or is anybody going to want to put their neck on the line? I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
so. I think they're all chicken shit.
I'm hoping they will, but
Yeah,
probably not. You're right. Probably not. Probably not.
yeah. Nobody's going to put themselves on the line
Now,
and risk because then they're going to risk themselves being blacklisted.
yeah. Now the thing is this blacklist available to be seen?
No, I don't think it's been released publicly. It's just in the discovery and in the documents. But it would be great if it was.
Yeah. What happens if it's released? And then those people who are on the list, now they have cause to do something.
See now, if okay, now that brings an interesting point. What if this guy had released that list to the Hollywood Reporter and to Variety and publicly put that list out of people who are on there? Because then I think what you're saying is more apt to happen, that the writers can rise up saying, hey, 80% of this list, these are quality writers. And the fact that you're saying they're underperforming or they're not quality is complete bullshit.
Or, yes, exactly. If he did
Yeah,
that. Or short of doing that, because that's very public. Suddenly it's in the Hollywood Reporter and you
yeah.
has he contacted these individual writers himself?
Oh, yeah.
In other words, I just want to tell you about something, blah, 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 the blacklist. I'm in a lots of, in Discovery, we discovered this thing. Your name is on it. I think you need to know that. I feel, as one writer to another, or one client at CA to another, you know, I'm not going to publish this, but I want you to know.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, you've worked with a lot of big writers, a lot of big directors. You've been
Hmm.
in the Hollywood game for a long time. What if you got a call from one of your famous director friends and said, "Mark, you know what? I got this list, this blacklist, and your name is on it." What would you do?
Well, the first thing is who created the list?
Well, let's say you knew that it came from CAA or William Morris or whoever. Let's say it was
Hmm.
a big agency.
Okay, like when I was with William Morris and I'm on that
Yeah,
list. What would I do? Immediately, I would call my agent. I said, "What's going on? What the
yeah,
hell is this?" I would just call them out. Say, "What are you talking
yeah,
about?" I'll tell you what I'm talking about. I know about the list. It's not private anymore. Well,
yeah,
who called you? Don't no no. It's not about who called me.
yeah,
Um, my one of my biggest arguments with William Morris when I was directing a film called Going Under for Warner Brothers. And we're in post-production and we're not done yet. But because I've directed a feature film and because it was a comedy, I'm getting other um, sort of offers.
yeah,
I'm getting scripts and I'm
yeah.
reading them going, oh, this looks interesting. And I think I know enough that the best thing to do while you're finishing a film is get your next film started. Get
Right.
get it. Don't wait. So I go to my agents at William Morris, have a meeting with them, and I say, okay, I've read this one. This one's an interesting. What are we doing? They said, what do you mean? I said, what are we doing? I said, we need to
Yeah.
set up the next film. This is really, without giving names, but this is exactly what they said to me. No, 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 Mark. We're going to wait till your film is done and see how it does.
Oh,
And I remember saying to them, Derek, I said, okay, you're going to wait to see how my film Going Under does. I'm going to tell
yeah.
you right now, if it does really well, I don't need you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I said, if it does really badly, you can't help me.
yeah,
Now is the time we do something. Because no matter, once you get the response, and
yeah.
basically when they did nothing. So no, no, we have to wait. Well, that's to me is chicken shit.
Well, this is like the music industry now, that the music industry doesn't want to sign new artists unless they have 5 million followers or this many hits or this many views. It's like, well, you really don't need a record company then if you're getting that kind of traction to begin with,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? So,
It's about taking a risk. It's about
yeah,
again, it's putting the money on the lead horse.
right. Here's my prediction. You know what's going to happen in October? Nothing. I think they're going to dismiss this suit. I think this writer is going to be SOL because I think that the 800-pound gorilla that is Hollywood is still the 800-pound gorilla and it's not going to change.
Right.